What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be prepping the ZL1 seen right behind me for its very first tune.
That is loud.
Now, really quickly, guys, I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to each and every one of you guys for supporting the channel. We are over 5,000 subscribers and well on our way to that 10,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. So if you haven't, make sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing so that you can get caught up and be up to date with the latest videos on this amazing Camaro ZL1. But with that being said, guys, let's get right on to the video. Today, we've got a slew of parts that we need to install before we get the very first tune loaded up, guys. And of course, the first thing we have is our gauges. So we've got two gauges, and the first one is our Aeroforce. This is the CN401. And of course, I had to get the custom carbon fiber ZL1 faceplate for it and the all black machine ring. It does come with like a black with the silver trim. This is going to be a super easy install because it just has one wire that plugs into your OBD2 port and powers on and off using that. Now, this gauge, guys, is going to allow us to do something super critical and super beneficial when we're at the track, and that is control our intercooler pump and fans on our radiator. So basically, after a full run and when we're trying to cool this car down, we can actually use this gauge to automatically start the intercooler pump and our fans to circulate the coolant in our supercharger to cool that down without the need of having to turn the car on and have the engine running. So besides that one important thing, of course, once we install our flex fuel sensor, we'll also be able to read our E content using this gauge. So super cool. Now I do have my E85 flex fuel sensor here from Gen 5 DIY. Love their products, ran their stuff in my SS, and of course it's got all OEM parts, so it should be really cool. Don't know if we'll be able to get to this in today's video, but of course we are going to need to get that done. We also have our wideband AEM sensor for data logging. This is very key once you start actually changing anything from intakes to exhaust or any of that stuff on the car, guys. You do want to get a wideband when you're remote data logging or remote tuning. That is how your tuner is able to really dial the car in. And the one that works for our new MPVI2 HP tuners devices is the 300334, and that specific model comes with this extra harness here. As you guys see, it's an OBD2T that allows you to plug it into your stock OBD2 and then put your HP tuners MPVI2 on the other end. So it's a little T, and it basically will read the wideband information. Now, I don't have the actual fuse that needs to be installed. I just forgot to order it, but we'll be ordering that here soon. So we won't be able to power this thing up, but that's okay because we also won't be able to install the actual sensor, guys, since we still have our stock exhaust. So what's going to happen is I want to just go ahead and run everything and have all the wires done in our gauge pod here. So that's all said and done, and then just have all the wires right under the dash and in the engine bay. And that's where, once we do get our first tune in about a week or two, give or take, Brett over at Prey is a one-man show, so a lot of people ask for retunes and for new tunes. So I've already submitted, paid for my tune and everything, and just gotta wait on him. He's definitely worth the wait, so I'm not too worried about that since we still got a few things to do here. But once he sends me the tune, then I'll be able to load the tune and actually remove one of the rear O2 sensors so that we can install this in its place, since we still have the stock headers for now. And so that gives me time to get all that taken care of and get the power for the fuse, and of course install our flex fuel sensor. So today our goal is to be able to get everything figured out in the inside and get the gauges mounted and all the wires routed down under the dash and into the engine bay, so that we are ready to just basically plug and play when we get the tune. For the gauge pod, guys, basically you're going to remove this vent here. It goes popped in there and just kind of comes up in towards you. Super simple. And then you do need to remove this side panel here, and that panel is just held on by a few clips. I believe it's 4 clips, 2 on the very top, 1 in this corner, and then 1 in the bottom. Just slowly tug on it and should pop right off. Not too difficult. And so what we're going to do is drill a hole up, down. It's kind of tight in here, but we're going to drill a hole downward through this vent here. And you want it kind of as far back as you can make it, because the gauge pod here basically slides in. So when it slides in, obviously if you don't want the hole up in the front side, so you want to do it as far back as you can, and that will allow you to be able to then route the wires around this vent pod here and up into the defrosting vent. What I did now, guys, is I drilled my hole as far back as I could and then got all my connectors, so all 3 of them. This is for the Interceptor, the Aeroforce, and of course we've got the 2 for our wideband, and I've run them up here so that we can go ahead and then run them into our gauge pod, have them pulled out, and make sure that everything fits nicely. A little bit of trial and error, get it to work, and once it's all settled in, then we can go ahead and install our gauges into the pods and plug everything up and start working with the wire management down below and in the engine bay. Everything worked out perfectly, guys. The holes are nice and snug, and this thing is not going anywhere. All the cables are run and can move back and forth very freely. What I went ahead and did is I did add some double-sided tape on the bottom here on both ends. You might have to, or you might not. I know my SS one actually came with some tape here, but this should hold our gauges in place and everything's nice and sturdy. Now for the gauges themselves, guys, as you see here, this is our wideband, and it comes with this little metal brace so that you can basically put like on some kind of bracket. We're not going to be using that. This is just going to be held on by this little raised lip here with the double-sided tape. That's how I had my SS, never had an issue there. And the same thing here, we're going to remove this bracket here and slide this thing completely in and set it in. But first we got to make sure we plug everything in. So we got our wideband on, and we've also got the putty there. You guys can see I kind of covered it on the front side using this bottom axis hole. We got to just plug this into the Interceptor and remove the little double-sided tape, and our wiring here should be pretty much done. And then of course we can get to working with the rest of it. And just like that, our gauges are set, guys. So we've got of course everything has all been set up, and we can basically kind of go through here and see the different information that you can find. There's a lot of information that we can get from here, just like our other one. One thing that we really are interested in is if we go into the menu here, so we got to go all the way to the end to controls, and then we can look. You can see here fan on, you have intercooler pump and fan 15, fan on 19. So that is basically the fans on full blast, sucking air rather through the front. And if the fans are working, then we know that the intercooler pump is working as well. Oh yeah, the fans are high and our fluid is rolling and moving through the supercharger. That is super cool, guys. And then of course we can go in here and press any button to stop, and it also gives you your voltage, so we can go there and then it should turn off the fans. So that is pretty cool. Note to self, guys, when installing the wideband, do not do what I did and not run the wideband plug from the outside engine bay in first and then up into the wideband gauge itself, because it will not clear the firewall plug as is. So what we're gonna have to do is basically de-pin all these wires, run them through, and then pin them all again. But it's gonna be better than actually cutting them and trying to solder and do all that again. So that is what we're gonna do now. It's all de-pinned, and you see the plug here. Now I did take a bunch of photos, and to be able to de-pin this, guys, you are going to need these little picks, and you actually need 2 of them. 2 of these individual ones will work, but I was able to use both of these. And basically what you do is there's this pink little retainer clip, and it just slides out, guys. And then once you have it basically without the pin, you'll see here you've got the main plugs in the 6 main plugs, and then right on the outside, I'm not sure if it's gonna come out, but you'll see there's tiny holes, like rectangle holes on either end of each of the pins. The way that you can get these out is you basically have to put these little small picks on both ends. So now that's done, we can go ahead and now route the whole harness through the fire plug and bring it out and repin it back here, so that we don't have to go ahead and actually disassemble or do anything in the gauge area. And just like that, we've got the plug back in installed. And just make sure that when you're sliding back the pins, guys, that they are in the appropriate position and that you hear a click. Now we can just kind of move this off to the side and zip tie that for whenever we get the tune, and we can go ahead and at that point install our wideband sensor, which of course plugs in here. So that is done. I'm gonna go ahead and just zip tie that up, go ahead and hide up and tuck up all the wires, put everything back up, and that should be pretty much it, guys. That should cover most of this. Now we still of course have the E85 flex fuel sensor to go, but that'll have to wait till tomorrow. I already ordered the addafuse for the wideband so that we can run the power. Now what I'll probably do is get some baseline 40 to 100 mile an hour times like I did with the SS before the tune, and then after the tune for you guys with the Rotofab. So we won't install this just yet. That's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Now make sure to subscribe, because next video we'll finish up this whole install. We'll run the power wire and ground the wideband gauge and have the gauges all set up. We'll also install the flex fuel sensor and the E85 kit, so we'll install that as well, as also get us some baseline data runs, do some 40 to 100 mile an hour pulls, and see where the car sits before the tune, so that when we tune it and install the wideband and all that and our Rotofab, we'll be able to see what a difference the car is going to make. I'm super excited. I can't wait for that to happen. But with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.